Balance changes and new metas are a necessary evil to keep live service multiplayers fresh. Here in COD Mobile, it was usually 3 months long.
Bro, this guy seriously needs to quit.
Some were so bad that they were cut short.
Oh my god!
Some lasted longer, but knew how to share the spotlight.
For the first time in 19 months, a top 10 weapons list without the CBR4 in it.
The BP50 at least ended.
This is nerfed? Supposedly?
But some nightmares just don't seem to end. Hello, this is AnlineOffline. Welcome to a COD Mobile 102, a bit more than a 101. For today's video, we'll be covering the USS 9. Introduced in Mobile's 5th anniversary, the USS 9 is a slow-firing automatic SMG, and it's the Uzi from Modern Warfare 2019, but goes by a different name. What does USS 9 stand for? I'm not too sure. My guess would be US Secret Service 9mm, as that's what they used before being replaced by MP5s and K90s. But your guess is as good as mine. Aside from 2019, the standard Uzi appeared in Black Ops 1 and returned in 2023 as the WSP-9. The mini Uzi appeared in the first 2 original Modern Warfare games and COD Online. The Micro and Pro variants appeared in 2023 as the WSP Stinger and Swarm respectively. Foreign copies such as the Japanese Mini BM9 and Italian Sojimi Type 821 have appeared in Modern Warfare 3 and Black Ops Cold War respectively. We already covered the history of the Uzi in the Pharaoh video, so we can delve straight into stats. Base damage per shot is high, taking 3 to 5 shots to kill. The impact is above average and can harass high flinch weapons. Fire rate is tied with the GKS and Striker 45 at 600 rounds per minute. They are among the slowest in its class, only ahead of the base Tech 9 and 348mm Sten. The bullet speed is also slow at 600 meters per second. If not for this, it would have had infinite effective range. Assuming no range attachments or multipliers, your base effective range is only 15 meters. However, the USS can dedicate 4 out of 5 attachment slots to range boosting if desired. The head is 40% extra damage, the chest and arms are 10%. With only 1 shot to the latter, you can easily extend its 3-shot potential into its second range. With 2, you can extend its 4-shot potential into its third range. Beyond this, you need double headshots for a faster time to kill. So, your practical effective range is 30 meters with no attachments. Moving on to barrel attachments. Factory Mini is a short barrel that improves your ADS time and movement speeds, but lowers your bullet speed to below 500 meters per second with more recoil. First Responder is an extended barrel that increases bullet speed and range, but slows your ADS. Factory Carbine is a Ranger barrel that increases your bullet speed and range by 25% and helps with recoil control. This comes at the cost of even slower ADS and movement. Carbine Pro is a marksman barrel that increases range and bullet speed by 35% and helps more with horizontal recoil. However, it comes at a severe cost to mobility and handling. In terms of mobility, the USS is not impressive for an SMG. The ADS time is average. Sprint out time is on par with the average AR. Sprinting and walking are tied with the OTS, LAPA, and Tech 9 for below average. The base strafe speed is the second slowest in its class, only ahead of the PBSH and MX9. The swap times are slow for its class, but this has more to do with 10 outliers creating a gap after receiving buffs in 2024. Base mag size is larger than standard at 32, and can be extended to 40 or 50 rounds. When empty, you can reload cancel a few frames after you slap the mag in. With spare rounds, you can cancel a few frames before you start inserting the mag. Enabling ADS reloads will make it harder to notice. Of course, what makes the Uzi worth using is its ammo conversion. Designed by the same guy behind 50 Action Express, 41 Action Express was pitched to address the issue with 9mm and its lack of stopping power at the time. 45 ACP was too fat for high capacity. 10mm auto had too much kick to be consistent. Smith & Wesson shaped down a 10mm to be more manageable. PDW rounds are expensive and specialized only for soft body armor. Ultimately, it was cheaper and more efficient to improve the 9mm since it was already such a ubiquitous all-rounder. 41 couldn't compete with the other big bores and was discontinued. But in COD Mobile, 41AE has terrorized the community for the past year, and continues to do so. It increases your head and stuffing multiplier by 0.1. This allows for 2-shot kills to the head, and makes it even easier to extend its 3 and 4-shot potentials. It also comes with 25% more range and additional impact. On any other gun, the penalties to recoil and bloom would be enough to dissuade anyone from using it. But for the USS, it's of little concern. As for accuracy, the USS is solid. The bloom is better than the average AR, and you truly have to go out of your way to ruin it. The hipfire spread is average for an SMG. The iron sights aren't bad, but maybe not ideal for long range if you have your FOV synced. If you aren't a fan, the bloom is solid enough that there is no shame in using an optic. Or you can try deleting weapon assets to use the RUS model instead. The recoil is very easy to manage, as it kicks very little in one direction, even with max recoil. The flinch is not great and is the only real weakness of this weapon, as it may have some trouble against high impact weapons at long range. So what's the Uzi like in the PC and console games? The Mini Uzi first appeared in the original Modern Warfare, and had a ridiculous fire rate of 952 rounds per minute. It was decent only in close quarters. Beyond this, it was thrashed for its low damage and high recoil. But at least it wasn't as bad as the Scorpion. It was carried over into its sequel with the same stats, but now had more attachment options. More optics, akimbo, extended mags. However, it didn't stand out due to how over the top everything else was in Modern Warfare 2. Black Ops 1 featured a full-sized Uzi that still had a very fast fire rate, but it is one of the worst SMGs in the entire franchise. And again, most of the other SMGs in that game were just as bad. The biggest reason why it was so much worse than its Modern Warfare counterparts was its terrible iron sight. The Mini Uzi was cut in Modern Warfare 3 in favor of the PM9, the fastest firing solo variant in the franchise. It dealt more damage than its predecessors up close, but the reload was very slow. We'll skip COD Online and the Pharaoh all the way to 2019, the first actual Uzi in COD in a decade. Unlike the Golden Age games, this Uzi was now a slow-firing weapon, and 2019 was a return to fast time to kills. So if you weren't landing double headshots consistently, you'll get outgunned by pretty much everything else in the game, and the open bolt delay didn't help. Luckily, 41 Action Express was later added and buffed, so at least it had some promise with its range. To follow up, the Milano from Black Ops Cold War is the slowest firing variant in the franchise. The damage was high enough to one-shot at any range in hardcore, but the bullet speed was very slow. From the looks of it, the Uzi and Milano were more popular in Warzone because stopping power secretly reduced recoil for them until it was patched for the latter. But I don't really cover battle royales. 2023 decided to have 3 versions of the Uzi. For the standard WSP9, the jump to 150 HP didn't do the time to kill any justice. Instead of 41 AE, it had 45 ACP, which helped with damage and bullet speed. The Swarm is a return to old school Uzis. Pea shooter damage, bullet hose fire rate, and strong recoil. There was a special version of Kimbo in the form of an aftermarket part that traded damage, fire rate, and multipliers for better hipfire. The Stinger is a fast-firing machine pistol that didn't have optics, and was limited by mag size and in bullet speed. Historically, the Uzi has seldom been a standout weapon in Call of Duty. And yet, here we are. Arctic is the only time in COD where it has been meta in multiplayer. Compared to 2019, our USS doesn't have an open bolt delay. We don't have as much of a 3-shot range, or as high a headshot multiplier, but we're much more consistent without the limb multipliers. And our average time to kill is not as fast as 2019. Since it released with a mythic blueprint, it's not a surprise that it got some shadow changes. In its prime, it was the perfect weapon. It had the mobility of an SMG, the accuracy of an AR, and the range of an LMG. As strong as it was, BP-50 had to be properly toppled before the USS could take the throne. The introduction of Overkill allowed for all sorts of new weapon combinations, but that didn't change the fact that the USS was public enemy number 1. Season 4 nerfed its ammo conversion and no stock, but it wasn't enough because the USS has top tier bloom and wasn't known for being a strafer. Season 6 nerfed the headshot multiplier so that it couldn't 2-shot headshot without 41 AE. Sure, it made the base version a fair weapon, but all it did was make people more reliant on an attachment they were already using for different reasons. The Korean server foreshadowed a nerf to bullet speed, and with it another nerf to no stock. The USS ceased to be the perfect all-in-one package, but it still wasn't enough. Your bullet speed isn't fast enough to cross-map? Get closer. Want to get around faster? Switch to your secondary. The end of 2025 had the right idea of targeting the ammo conversion, but not quite the right execution. Again, the base bloom is so solid that it's not hard to come up with a balanced gunsmith. As of the making of this video, the most recent change is the new movement animations. As a result, it gained the ability to reload while crawling, and the option to reload while ADS. Even after a year of multiple nerfs that would have devastated any other gun, the USS 9 still reigns as the longest continuous meta in this game's history, despite its high impact rivals. Funnily enough, before the USS was even leaked, the JKS received some promising buffs. Unfortunately, it was still overshadowed. If we're just talking base to base, the JKS is the better mid-range weapon since its hit scan has the further guaranteed 4-shot range and lower flinch. It can also 2-shot headshot. This is not to say that the USS is entirely worthless without its ammo conversion. It's an infinite 5-shot kill to the legs. It has the more generous 3-shot potential due to its higher second range damage. It has slightly faster swap times. The initial hipfire spread is much better, and it's very easy to use, while the JKS's recoil may take some getting used to. If you now factor in 41 AE, then they can both 2-shot to the head, and their blooms are similar. The 3-shot potential on the USS is even easier to achieve now, with the only downsides being flinch and a limit on mag size. If you want to talk about time to kill, then the Striker 45 has come a long way since I first covered it. Between the three of them, the Striker has the furthest 3-shot potential and an infinite 4-shot potential. That is if you don't land leg shots. It also has the fastest reloads and movement speeds of the three. However, the Striker is quite the kicker if you carelessly mag dump, and its hipfire spread is just as bad as the average LMG. While the Striker has the most potential of them all, it is more of a high-risk, high-reward alternative. Due to the Uzi's ease of use, it performs more consistently. And by their very nature, metas are defined by their lack of effort. If history is anything to go by, the USS finds itself in the same position as the BP-50, with the SO-14 as the most likely successor. It has overstayed its welcome, and it's time to move on. It needs that final nail in the coffin, or else we end up in a situation where it may lose the main spotlight in the short term, but will outlive everyone. So, how do we go about it without going too far? First, it needs a flinch nerf. If you've been here long enough, then you're already familiar with the tale of the CBR-4 as the longest reigning meta. Although disputed in continuity and dominance, the CBR was so persistent during its 2-year tenure that it wasn't enough to just nerf its flinch. They needed to introduce a whole new game mechanic just to maximize said nerf. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. The devs figured this out 3 years ago. But what about 41 Action Express, the true source of everyone's anguish? You can keep the multipliers and 2-shot headshots, but the range is too good. And just for good measure, an additional penalty to flinch. For the sake of authenticity, 41 AE needs to have actual recoil, like it did in 2019. If the GKS and Striker 45 both have to put up with recoil, then it's only fair that the USS does too. But for the sake of fairness, the penalty to Bloom should be scaled back, if not scrapped entirely. Speaking of scaling back old nerfs, O-Stock should be allowed to regain some of its lost mobility. There was never an issue with it. And lastly, since adding the WSP-9 is redundant, should they add its Broodmother 45 aftermarket part as a signature ammo conversion? To put it simply, it turns it into a 22-round Odin with decent dexterity. Is it a good idea? I don't know if the mobile community would take too kindly to nerfing one ammo conversion, only to replace it with another. But hey, that's just my opinion. This has been a COD Mobile 102. Feel free to suggest what weapons you want to see covered next. My name is On, and I'm off.